Good morning, it is Saturday and this is the start of my little Halloween long weekend reading vlog. So I have got Monday off this week, so I have a long weekend. Monday is Halloween. Today I am going to Oxford and doing some horror book shopping with my friend Lily, who is literally Lily on YouTube and on Instagram. I am so excited to be able to hopefully add some new horror books to my collection. As you will know if you've watched my previous vlogs, I'm trying to find books that actually scare me and it's just not happening. So I've got a bunch of suggestions from you guys on Instagram. I'm gonna go look and see if I can just have a flick through them, see what the vibes of those books are, and hopefully pick up some new horror reads. Tomorrow I'm out with a friend during the day, and then in the evening I have another friend coming over to watch horror films with me because I'm just embracing the full Halloween vibes this weekend. Don't know what we're gonna watch yet, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna try for Paranormal Activity 1 because I've never watched any of the Paranormal Activity films. So again, hoping that something scares me, hence why I've invited someone around to watch with me because I want to watch the more scary of the horror films, because I've been watching a couple building up this month, but none of them have given me the fear yet, so I'm ready for that. And then on Monday, obviously it's Halloween, so in the morning I'm gonna go for a walk and try and find some spooky Halloween-y atmospheric spots to go for a walk around. And then in the afternoon, I'm gonna be doing spookathon sprints all day, and then usually in the evening on Halloween, I get a takeaway and I watch horror films, but I will be doing that the night before, so I don't know if I'll do the takeaway part again on the Monday, but the horror films I'm hoping to do again on the Monday, so it's basically going to be a very Halloween-y weekend. Book-wise, I am currently reading the two books that you would have seen me reading if you watched last week's reading vlog. So I'm reading Eeny Meeny still by MJ Aldridge. I am 129 pages into this book. It's okay, it's quite male-gazy at the moment and I'm not loving that about it. There's a couple of comments that I've been a bit ooh, but basically this follows a murderer or somebody, well actually they're not the murderer. Somebody is abducting people, and two people at a time, and giving them the choice of kill or be killed. So they're making one of those people kill the other one and putting them in this situation, and we're following the people that have been put in that situation and the detective trying to work out what's happening. So yeah, I'm not loving it. It's fine, it's addictive. If I pick something up today that I'm more excited about, I will probably just temporarily put this down. I'm not going to DNF it because I do want to know how it ends, because I am still intrigued. It's just more like a 3-star territory at the moment. So that's my current read. And my current audiobook is Stephen King's Fairy Tale. I am so near the end of this. I haven't actually updated my bookmark, but I would probably think I will be finishing this today on my drive to Oxford. I'm really liking this. It's got every aspect that a good epic fantasy has about it. It has this creative, expansive fantasy world that is inspired by elements of our fairy tale stories. And I love the way that that is interwoven in. The main character is just such a good person. They are not really flawed in any way. They're just good and they have good intentions. And this is all about them trying essentially to save a dog. And I just really hope nothing happens to the dog is what I'm gonna say. But I am liking this a lot. I've been reading this for a while now because it is definitely a slower read, but I will, as I said, be hoping to, if I don't finish it today, to finish it this weekend. I wanted to finish it tomorrow in my other vlog and finish it within that vlog, but I think it was just gonna push it a bit too much and I didn't wanna feel like I had to read a certain amount before the end of the day yesterday because I had a busy day, so I decided to push it into this vlog. So I'll let you know my thoughts when I finish this, and maybe this, but again, as I said, if I pick up a book today that I'm more excited about, I'm probably gonna pick that one up instead of this one this weekend. Okay, it's time to go book shopping. I'm excited to see Lily, excited to go around Oxford and just explore some horror books. I really hope, I can't remember if some of these bookshops have specific horror sections because I hate it when it's merged in with the fantasy and sci-fi. I get why it is, but it's its own genre and it's really difficult to determine what is actually a horror. I know that Blackwell used to have a separate section, but then they rejigged their shops and like moved their fantasy stuff to a different shop, which is really annoying. So I don't know if it's still separate, but we will find out. I hope you guys are ready for a horror book haul because I bought 11 books today. 10 of these are horror books, one of them is not. I'd say that the mission was achieved. It's quite a lot. Let's go through these books. These are pretty much split between Waterstones and Blackwell's. I'd like to give Waterstones points a shout out because they really did me a solid here. Also, this was not spontaneous. This was something that I've been planning to do for a while now. I had a list of books that I wanted to try and look for, so some of these are from that list that was based on the recommendations you guys sent on Instagram this week, and some of them were just books that I saw out and about today and wanted to buy. So let's get into these 11 books. Okay, book one on the list. I do not normally read zombie books. I don't think I've ever read a zombie book, but this one gave me Zombieland vibes, which is taking the comedic side of zombies, and that is pretty much based on the first line of this book. So it's set 20 years after this zombie outbreak happens, and these two bloggers have decided that they're going to try and get to the bottom of why this has all happened. So I don't really know if the world that we're in has just kind of formed its own way of living with these zombies, or if the zombies are contained. I don't know what this is. I mean, not that you really find a way of living with a zombie, but I don't know. The first line I thought was quite good fun. Our story opens where countless stories have ended in the last 26 years, with an idiot, in this case my brother Sean, deciding it would be a good idea to go out and poke a zombie with a stick to see what happens. I think this sounds fun. I am excited to read this one. I haven't read anything from this author before. Did I even say the name? This is Feed. It's by Mira Grant. And this was one of the ones I didn't necessarily intend to buy today, but I just saw this one whilst I was out. I also saw, is it called Into the Drowning Deep, or is that another book? I think it's called that, by Mira Grant. And I was intrigued by that one, but I didn't buy that at the time. I put that on my wish list, but that is sea creature-esque type of thing. I didn't think it would be necessarily very scary. Not that I think this one's going to be scary. I think this is more going to be good fun. I don't really find zombies a scary thing. But the other one intrigued me because whilst I don't think that that's something that would be scary, I think it would be quite unsettling, and it's something I find interesting. So I did add that one to my wish list by the same author, so I guess I'll see how I like their writing style with Feed. One of the most popular books you guys were recommending me was Thin Air. Now it says it's a ghost story here, very usefully. This is by Michelle Paver. I have high hopes for this based on how many people said that this scared them, but looking at the blurb, it doesn't. I mean, if you didn't know that it said it was a ghost story there, you wouldn't necessarily think it was one from the blurb, I don't think. It's a very short blurb. The Himalayas, 1935. Kanchenjunga, the sacred mountain, biggest killer of them all. 5 Englishmen set out to conquer it, but courage can only take them so far, and the higher they climb, the darker it gets. See, it doesn't really come across like it's gonna have that kind of paranormal element to it, so I'm quite intrigued to see how this one does play into that, because a lot of people said this scared them. I'm really hoping this is the right book, because there were a couple of different Thin Airs, and I'm assuming this is the right one, because it said it was a ghost story. This was also not in the horror section, this was in general fiction. A couple of these were in general fiction, so I'm intrigued by this one, I really am. The reviews say it's fantastic, wonderfully atmospheric and hugely enjoyable. Terror on a grander scale. No one says it's scary, but hopefully it does scare me. To add to my books of horror nanny stories, I have The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. This is set on a remote Scottish island, and so many of the horror books that I have seen today start off on a remote Scottish island. It seems to be the setting. And this follows a woman who is a nanny to a young child who hasn't spoken for months. Mary's silence is not the only mystery. Hypnotic lullabies drift down empty corridors, strange dolls appear in abandoned rooms, and as the night draws in, darker questions arise. What happened to Mary's late twin William? Why did their previous nanny disappear so suddenly? And is the whistling Elspeth hears at night just the storm outside, or is something else out there? I feel like this one could actually scare me. Like, this is the one that I've got the highest hope for actually giving me the fear. This is one that you guys recommended. The reviews on the back say that it's gonna do what it promises it's gonna do. Incredibly haunting, utterly gripping. It will chill you to the bone. It's got potential. Hopefully it actually lives up to said potential. This one I also think has the potential to scare me, because the one thing that I have noticed has been actually scaring me in the books that I've been reading at the moment has been when somebody is holding someone's hand, or thinks they're holding someone's hand, and then they realise it's not actually their hand that they're holding. That sounded really dodgy. I don't mean that in a dodgy way. I mean like someone thinks they're holding someone else's hand and it's like a ghost hand they're holding instead or something. That every time has successfully been the moment that I have found something a little scary, and that's happened in 2 books that I've read this year, and that's given me the kind of ooh moment. And this is called The Small Hand, and it's literally got this moment in the blurb, so It's kind of setting it up for me, really. And this is by Susan Hill, who obviously wrote The Woman in Black, which I haven't read, but I have watched the film. I like the film. I do have the book to read, but I have a hideous cover of it. It's the film cover, and I don't approve. It's not a nice cover. Anyway, the line on the blurb for this one that got me, I mean, I'm gonna have to read you the whole blurb for it to make sense, but bear with. Late one evening, antiquarian bookseller Adam Snow is returning from a client visit when he takes a wrong turn. I like that he's a bookseller as well. He stumbles across a derelict Edwardian house and, compelled by curiosity, approaches the door. Standing before the entrance, he feels the unmistakable sensation of a cold hand creeping into his own, as if a child had taken hold of it. At first, he is merely puzzled by the odd incident, but then begins to suffer panic attacks and to be visited by nightmares. He is determined to learn more about the house and its once magnificent, now overgrown garden. But when he does so, he receives further, increasingly sinister visits from the small hand. So I'm excited to be scared with this one. Hopefully. It's also a TV drama if I want to continue the fear. This is a bookseller recommended one. This is Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. I was talking to the bookseller about the kind of books that I was after, and they went and grabbed me this one. I hadn't heard of it before. This is quite a long blurb, but the top of the blurb gives a kind of overview of the book, and I think that's the thing that really sold it for me. It's an own voices book that is a dark, unflinching haunted house novel that takes readers from the well of the literary Gothic up through Brighton's queer scene and out into the heart of modern-day trans experience. And the bottom part of the blurb says it's cutting, disruptive, and darkly funny. It's a vital work of trans horror that confronts both supernatural and real-world terrors as it examines the devastating effects of trauma and the way fascism makes us destroy ourselves and each other. It's set 3 years after a trio of friends spend a night in an abandoned house, and since they spent that night in the house, they are experiencing very strange things happening to them and having quite a haunted existence. And then I think one of those friends goes back to this house and the other two have to try and rescue them. It sounds really interesting. The blurb on the top of it says it holds a gruesome mirror up to the way it feels to live now. I absolutely tore through this book, and that's a review from Julia Armfield. I'm very excited for this one. I think the fact that the bookseller recommended it as well definitely makes me even more excited. Another book that has become a film. Why do we have these awful stickers on the front? This is Bird Box. This is by Josh Malerman. I have not watched this film either. All I know is that there are these creatures, and if you look at them, I think they kill you. The blurb is equally vague, but the reviews do make it sound incredibly gripping. It's a book that demands to be read in a single sitting and through the cracks between one's fingers. I think that this one could possibly scare me. It's a terrifying psychological thriller that will haunt you long after reading. I will definitely read this and then watch the film. I don't hate this cover. I assume this is the film cover. I know I was saying I don't like film covers. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I'm intrigued by the plot of this. I like the fact that we don't really know much about it, and obviously having not watched the film either, I really don't know much about it. I finally bagged myself a copy of The Shining by Stephen King. I really can't decide what I think of the cover of this book. Let me know if you like it or hate it. I really don't know. I have watched the film for this one, but I have not read the book. I know that Stephen King didn't like the film adaptation for this, so I'm interested to see if that means the book is quite different. But from what I remember of the film, this follows a family who go to stay at a hotel that the dad is about to become a caretaker of, and they get stuck there in the middle of a blizzard, and the isolation of it allows this evil force to kind of take over a little bit in the hotel. And in the film, at least, it follows how this is affecting the mental health of the dad figure and how he kind of becomes quite unhinged. So I assume the book takes a similar route. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be vastly different or not, if the film adaptation will have changed things. I'm not really sure, but I wanted to read this one, and again, this is one that you guys said was a pretty scary one. I think this is meant to be one of King's scariest books. I think this will determine for me whether I like King's writing style for horror or not. Obviously, I'm reading Fairy Tale at the moment, which is not a horror, and I am liking that writing style. I've also read It and Salem's Lot, and I did enjoy both of them. I definitely preferred It by a mile, but King has such a distinctive writing style and voice, and it's certainly very stylized, and I don't fully know if I like that in horror or not from him. And as I said, it's very different from his fantasy voice, so I think this will kind of be a bit of a deciding factor for me. When I've gone into the bookshops recently and asked for a book recommendation that would actually scare me from the booksellers, The Exorcist has popped up a few times by William Peter Blatty. Hasn't been in stock, but today it was. Obviously this is quite a widely known film, and this is the book that inspired the film. I have not watched that film, which I don't know why I haven't watched that film, like I really don't, but I will read the book and then I will watch the film. All I know about this is about somebody who gets possessed by an evil spirit, and it follows the exorcism of the spirit. And in the film, at least, the person's head spins around. I know that much. I don't know if that happens in the book, but that's pretty much all I know about this story. We're on the home straight now, not many left. I also bought Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I don't know if this is like directly a horror book. I have read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, and it was an interesting read. This one I wanted to get because I had seen it about on BookTube last year, and I was intrigued by it from then. And also I'm currently reading Fairy Tale by Stephen King, and that book references this book. Stephen King's actually blurbed this book on the front saying it's a darkly poetic tale, Bradbury's best work. I think the big selling thing for me on this, I was looking at the reviews on Goodreads and someone said it made them feel like a child again reading it because of the style and the way that it described things, and I really liked that description of the book. It's set on Halloween, which I like a lot. There is a pandemonium shadow show that has come to town, and these two young boys want to go and see the show. But entering the smoke and mazes and mirrors, they will discover that not all dreams are worth the price that must be paid. The reviews on the back don't exactly scream horror and scary, but it says it's a rite of passage book, a novel drenched in darkness. Every character is a slice of night, which I think is a really cool way of describing this. Also, I like this cover quite a bit. I like that we've got the kind of cracked, vintagey side bits to it as well. I think it's a cool effect. So yeah, I picked this one up. The last of the horror for this haul is Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I wanted to pick this one up after reading The Haunting of Hill House earlier this week. I really enjoyed that one. It had one moment that scared me, so I'm kind of giving Shirley Jackson a bit more of a go to make me feel the fear. This is actually the last book that Shirley Jackson wrote, and this is one that people have said was their favourite of hers when I was asking online for recommendations. So this follows a family that I think they've had some hardship. They've gone through a bit of an upheaval. They're not really kind of resolved from all of that yet when a cousin arrives armed with overtures of friendship and a desperate need to get into the safe. The main character has to do everything in their power to protect the remaining family. This is apparently the greatest novel that Shirley Jackson has written, draws us into a dark, unsettling world of family rivalries, suspense, and exquisite black comedy. I heard a lot of good things about this one. It was the last book that I found today as well. I didn't think I was going to be able to get a copy of this. It was out of stock in all the bookshops we went into, and then we went into the Blackwell's in Westgate in the shopping centre, which was our last visit, and they had this one, so I'm really glad that I managed to pick up a copy of this. The final book that I picked up, which is not a horror, is The Woman in the Purple Skirt by Natsuko Imamura. This is one that Lily, who I was with, was looking at, and we were looking at the blurbs of all these books trying to decide which ones Lily should get, and I was looking at this thinking, damn, I think I might get this one myself. So the blurb is really short and sweet for this. Well, not sweet, but it's short, and it definitely sold me in. It's the woman in the purple skirt is being watched. Someone is following her, always perched just out of sight, monitoring which buses she takes, what she eats, whom she speaks to, but this invisible observer isn't a stalker. It's much more complicated than that. All the reviews say how gripping this is. It's a voyeuristic thriller. I think this sounds like it's going to be very intense, very interesting. Also, Blackwell's has the best selection of translated fiction. Since they've moved everything around, they have a huge array of translated fiction. There was so much to choose from, so we were definitely spoiled for choice in there. But I picked up this one. Not a horror, but it's going on the haul. Also, I got some really exciting book mail today that I need to share with you because I've been waiting for so long for this to arrive. Obviously, Waterstones have had some warehouse issues at the moment. It's caused a lot of delays with their shipping, and I had to wait a little while for this, but I'm so excited. Book mail came in the mail. Hey! It is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is one of the signed editions. I think it's like an anniversary edition, maybe, or just a special signed edition. The end pages. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this one. Look how pretty! I love it. This is 157 of 500. I love this so much. I love this book. This definitely got me into dark academia, and yeah, I'm so glad that this has finally arrived. This is going to look really nice on my dark academia shelf. I'm actually going to be redoing my shelves around a little bit. I am getting new bookshelves in my office and changing things around, so I think I'm going to kind of have a bit of a dark academia horror thriller shelf because I have a lot of books now from all of those genres that are spilling off of my current shelves, so that needs to be a thing that happens. Okay, I'm now going to get ready for bed. I think I said this morning that I would maybe end up reading one of the books I buy today, this weekend, instead of Eeny Meeny, and I think I'm probably going to do that, so I'll let you know what I pick. I haven't decided yet. I need to look through them all and recap. It might be the hand one, or maybe the whispering, the whistling? One of these two. I will let you know what I pick. Good morning, it is Sunday, and I did not know the clocks went back or forward, whatever it was. The clocks changed, and I did not realise, so my morning has been a little bit confusing, but I'm going out for breakfast with my friend shortly. I just wanted to give you a very quick update. So I started The Whistling by Rebecca Netley last night. I've only read about 70 pages of this so far. This is meant to be a ghost story, and I think that it's definitely got the potential to creep me out. It has elements, fleckers of things that we've seen already that are definitely, I think, going to be played on more. There's this little girl here, her twin brother has died and she hasn't spoken since he died. And she's been drawing these pictures and communicating with her nanny through these pictures. And she drew one picture of her, the nanny, and then a little boy next to them. And I just, there's something that's going to be happening there. So far, I will say that we're having more building up on the characters than we are the setting and the atmosphere. And I think often for a ghost story to really lure me in, I do need that atmosphere build up in the setting to be there and have that gothic tone to it. And at the moment, it just doesn't have that quite going yet. Still really liking it for sure, but I don't have a strong visual image for this yet, which is definitely changing the way I'm seeing things when vaguely spooky things are happening, because I don't have a clear enough image in my head. Comparing it to something like The Haunting of Hill House, that was really visual, that was very strong in my head, and I just don't have that for this yet. However, I'm only 70 pages in, so hopefully that will build. The characters are definitely really strong and I can certainly see them clearly in my head. I just need the setting to fall into place too. I have an afternoon of reading coming up. I'm going out shortly for breakfast with my friend, and then this evening I'm watching horror films with another friend, so I'm really just trying to scare myself today. We'll see how this goes, but I'm excited to get a chunk of this read on sprints. Apologies if you can hear my washing machine in the background, but it's literally loud anywhere in my flat. So I have been reading all afternoon on sprints for The Whistling, and I'm not loving this book still. I have about 100 pages left, so I'm quite near the end. The atmosphere and the setting have still not really drawn me in. I just feel like there's so much potential for this setting to be talked about more, and it just hasn't quite done it for me. And it's such a shame, because I think that it is hindering me from feeling invested in the moments that are meant to be making me feel scared. So unfortunately, this book has not been making me feel the fear. It's still not happening. And this was like one of the ones that I thought would definitely make me feel scared. So I might go for The Small Hand next and start that tomorrow, because I think I'll finish this tomorrow morning. But it's such a shame. I don't know, this has so much potential, and I think the elements of it that are creepy are really good, but I just don't think the reveal moments that make you have that goosebumpy feeling are really there for it, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm liking it, I'm not loving it. It's just, I wanted it to give me the fear and it's not giving me the fear, but hopefully the next one will. I am now gonna go and grab some Chinese, and I have an evening of watching scary films and eating Chinese. I'm very excited about it, so I'm gonna go do that, and I will let you know my thoughts when I finish this book tomorrow. Happy Halloween! It is Monday today, it is Halloween. I have a really nice, chilled, but slightly spooky day planned, and I'm excited to take you along with me. I'm excited to read a new book because I finished my book, so I need to give you an update on that, and just generally have a nice chilled end to my long weekend. So I think I forgot to say to you yesterday that I finished Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I was reading this one for quite a while. It certainly was very slow paced. However, in the end, I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. This certainly sits more within the fantasy genre than it does within horror. I just thought it was brilliant. I really loved the way the story slowly unfurled to show more and more of this fantasy world. I think I gave a really poor description of it, basically saying it was about a guy trying to save his dog, but this young boy finds a man who has hurt himself and goes to help him, and it's in the kind of our world essentially, and he goes to help this guy and he ends up befriending this man and his dog, and it turns out that in this man's garden there is a portal to a fantasy world. So that's kind of how we get into the fantasy element of this. So I really liked the way that we took somebody who had no awareness of anything like this and then suddenly threw them into this completely new realm with this whole new language that they had to adapt the way they were speaking. There was really interesting chats about the words that we use and how that translates, and that was really cool. So it was really good. It was really good fun. It felt very epic. The ending was fantastic, and just generally I really liked it. I really liked the main character. I think I said in a couple of vlogs ago that because he was so good and so unflawed, I felt like he would be boring to follow. but he wasn't. You just really, really, really rooted for him and wanted the absolute best for him. So yeah, he was a cinnamon roll of a character, and I thought this was great. I also just now finished The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. I was disappointed by this one. I haven't run this through Core yet, but I estimate this being around the 3-star. I felt like it had really great potential to scare me. I really thought it would, and there was a lot of aspects of it that I think could have been scary, but it kind of unpicked itself in a way that meant I wasn't scared, and that for me just left me feeling a little bit disappointed and wanting for more. And I don't mean wanting for more in that I want a sequel or anything. I mean I felt like it was teetering on the edge of giving me what I wanted and making me feel that fear and kind of giving me that atmosphere that I was craving for, and it just didn't quite deliver. So unfortunately this one didn't wow me. The end was the best part, not because it ended, but like I just thought the way the story knitted together at the end was the best part. I felt like it was quite predictable throughout, and that I think as well probably made me not enjoy it quite as much as I could have. I'm really sad that I didn't love this one. I really thought I would, but on to the next book to hopefully try and scare me this weekend. So that book is going to be The Small Hand by Susan Hill. I think this one's got a good shot. It's also relatively small, so I think there should be no issue with me finishing this today because I'm going to be doing reading sprints throughout the whole of the afternoon. And this one just has all the creepy elements of it in terms of like the kid holding the hand, just the ghost element there. I'm hoping that it scares me. The Mistress of Spine-Tingling Fiction is one of the reviews. Hopefully this is one of those spine-tingling fictions. I don't know. I don't know at this point. I really don't know. I did watch some horror films last night. We watched 2 horror films. My friend came over, we had Chinese, and we watched 2 horror films. And I think it's safe to say we regretted our second choice of horror film. So we watched Insidious first, which was a solid 3 stars, I would say. It definitely had moments of creeping me out. I find the scariest thing is when there's suggestions of something happening, like when there's a flicker of a shadow or like a hand, something like that, where it's very suggestive for quite a lot of the film and you're kind of waiting and waiting for that big reveal moment. And this film had that, but I think it revealed too soon. I think if it would have kept the kind of suggestive flickers of moments, that would have made me feel more scared. So did enjoy it, but it wasn't like absolutely amazing. And then we watched Paranormal Activity. I have not ever watched Paranormal Activity because I thought it was so scary that I had to watch it with somebody and no one would ever watch it with me. And I was just saving it and saving it and saving it and had it built up as this really scary thing in my head because I remember when it came out in the cinemas, everyone was going wild for it. And I think that at the time people thought it was a real, like it was kind of released as like, this is real footage. And it's got a Blair Witch Project element to it in it being completely handheld and filmed by like one of the characters essentially. So I went in with these great expectations. I don't think I've ever been so disappointed. It was a 1 star. It was absolutely awful. The only scary thing about it was the interior design of the house. It was so disappointing, so repetitive. The acting was just strange. It was not good. It wasn't good. I understand it was trying to have that kind of real element to it, but it wasn't real. It was a work of fiction and it was boring because it just was very repetitive. And you just didn't really feel like you got anything from it. So unfortunately that one was rubbish. I think we wish we'd watched Insidious 2 instead. I do need to pick a horror film for tonight. I have no idea what that's going to be, but I don't know whether I'll lean towards like one of the slashery horror films because there's a couple of those that I want to see. I don't know, might watch Halloween. I haven't ever watched the original Halloween, and obviously because it is Halloween, that might be pretty perfect. I'm not sure, I need to pick. But the plan for today, it is currently 9:30 in the morning, exactly 9:30, dot on 9:30. I'm going to go for a walk now. I'm going to walk this lovely route that I really enjoy walking down. That's this huge road of houses. And every single house is completely different and they are all absolutely massive. It's like you just kind of walk down it and have these fantasies about living in one of these houses. One of the houses is literally like a gothic mansion. It's amazing. Anyway, at the end of this road, there is this really lovely graveyard and I thought that would be quite atmospheric for a little Halloween vlog. And then from there, I'm going to walk in via town and then walk back up to my flat. And then I am going to do reading sprints for the afternoon. And then this evening, I'm gonna watch a horror film. I'm excited for the day. I feel like it's gonna be a nice chilled one with a couple of things like planned in. Looking forward to sprinting later because I did sprint quite a lot yesterday. And I'm sure I'm going to finish this book within sprints. I don't know whether I'll finish another book, depending on what I pick, I suppose. But this is pretty short. It's 200 pages, so I definitely think that that should be doable within sprints. I might start another audiobook now, because I'm completely like blank slate now with everything I've been reading. Well, I'm still technically reading Eeny Meeny, but that was a physical read, not an audiobook. So I might pick another audiobook. I'm tempted by My Best Friend's Exorcism or maybe Clown in a Cornfield. One of those. I'll let you know what I pick, but I'm gonna head out for my walk now. Hey, it's Monday night. That's the vibe. I am pretty pooped right now. I've had a very full-on weekend in the best way possible. Like, I've had such a good weekend. I've just ended the sprints that went on for about 7 hours today, so I've been doing a lot of reading, finished a book, started another book. I just feel like now I'm just like ready to decompress and just, which is why this is what I'm looking like right now. But I have final reading updates and I'm gonna wrap up this vlog. So I finished The Small Hand by Susan Hill. I like this one. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The writing was really lovely. I really enjoyed seeing the character as a bookseller and trying to find this certain edition of a book that he was trying to get hold of. And that journey, I think it added a bit more bulk to it. But as far as a ghost story goes, it didn't scare me. But it just, I don't know, I didn't feel like it was building the tension enough for a ghost story. It felt like it didn't really hint to anything, it just immediately told you about the ghost element of it, and it repeated the same aspects quite often, which I felt took away the suspense. It didn't really feel like it built that suspense. So it was beautiful. I really liked the writing and I really enjoyed reading it. It felt very, very cozy, very autumnal. If you're looking for a book to just cuddle up with and read for a few hours, this is a great one. I think if I wasn't on the desperate search for a book that was building that suspense and being scary, I think that this would have been perfect. And it was really good. It was just, as a ghost story, disappointing. As a general book, lovely, beautiful writing, atmospheric, autumnal. It just felt like the ghost aspect wasn't really there, which surprised me because this is my first Susan Hill. If you were looking for something that is cozy, autumnal, something you can just curl up and read under a blanket for a few hours, then this is for you. If you're looking for something that's going to scare the shit out of you, this isn't going to do it. It's certainly atmospheric, it's certainly cozy, and I think it's perfect for this time of year. It really made me feel like I was just absorbed in the book. It just didn't scare me, and I just felt like there wasn't enough suspense around the ghostly elements. So I liked it, I didn't love it. 3.5 stars. I have since started Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I don't even know what's happening in this book, I'm not gonna lie to you. My brain is not doing the reading thing right now. I think I've read too much over this weekend, or over this month. I have read 15 books this month. I don't know how I've done this. Also, the wrap up is gonna be an experience to film, so that's coming soon. But this, I don't know, like I know what it's about, but I don't, it's weird to follow. I'm seeing the ties between this and Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I'm certainly getting that, which is what I wanted from this. And the writing is certainly very lovely, and there's a lot of dialogue, which I appreciate because it does move the story along quite nicely and doesn't make it feel too bogged down with description and with the poetic writing style. But at the moment, there's just, I mean, it's very strange, which I did expect. I feel like we're about to dive into what the plot's probably going to be for it, so I'm gonna let it do that. But I'm done reading for the day. I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna watch a film and I'm gonna eat my Pizza Express that is coming any minute now. I've ordered pizza. I've got to order pizza on Halloween. It's just the thing to do. It feels right. I don't know what film I'm gonna watch, but it's certainly not gonna be anything to do with the Paranormal Activity films because yeah, watched that last night and did not like it, as I said. Anyway, I'm gonna go do the things now that I don't even know what the things are, but I'm gonna go do them. Also, the light reflecting off the TV is not good right now. So much. It's just, oh, okay. I'm gonna go. But I've had so much fun this weekend. I've had great fun filming this vlog. I had a lovely start to my day as well, going for a walk. Very atmospheric. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed being on sprints this weekend as well. And just generally all the sprints throughout the month have been great fun. If you've enjoyed doing those sprints, I do weekly sprints for my patrons. It's all linked down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please do give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you were reading this Halloween weekend, and you can also subscribe to see more of my face on your feed. And as I said, linked down below is my Patreon and also my online shop where I sell Lightroom presets. Thank you so much for watching. Keep smiling and stay positive.